have, Buddhiman in my language means very intelligent person, and definitely have chosen a very interesting topic, and which I believe has a lot of significance in terms of the whole discussion, debate going on, particularly in this part of the world. And I was reading your proposal. It shows that you have a lot of passion for this, and I feel good because I have a passion too about that. And for the last about almost 2 decades, I've been trying to understand local governance. Now, I'm glad that you have brought it into the mainstream. And from your presentation, it looks like you have been induced by UNCDF. They're the one who have been talking about, and some of your parlance and language structure has been drawn from there. But if I go further, but to be more specific, now, first that you have said in your paper that fiscal transfer policy is one of your independent variables. Now, you have a intergovernmental fiscal transfer policy in Nepal. Yes. If so, then I'm a bit confused. Down the line, in page 18, you say, local government is responsible to formulate fiscal policy based on transparency, accountability, rule of law, and participation. Likely the fiscal policy is, as you said, and I believe so, but you have already set policy there. So local government cannot really manipulate the practice in the light of the central fiscal policy. So most probably you didn't mean that, but you have written it. Now, I was carefully looking into this analytical framework, and honestly, I don't find the reflection of your theoretical discussion in your analytical reflection. These two go too different. For example, I was very excited when I've seen that you have used Musgrave's perspective. No reflection there. So why do you really bring in those stuff which you don't really use that? And then I was fascinated because you started the thing, your title is Local Governance in Nepal, a case study of local resource mobilization. My understanding is that you're looking into local resource mobilization, taking into account local governance as the covering theme. And you rightly define local governance is not the activities of local government. It takes into account several other things. And if you go into literature, and which you have partly touched, especially if you look at Shah and others, even UNCDF literature, you find, when they talked about local governance, they brought in a heavy discussion, loaded discussion on political economy, role of political culture, role of political institutions. So these are things that are not really in any way being touched in your analytical framework. Otherwise, if you really look into that, you could simply say, okay, local resource mobilization in local government in Nepal. Because by bringing in local governance, you have definitely gone to the right space, but not brought it in. I personally believe that if you want to look into local resource mobilization, experience on South Asia and Southeast Asia reveals your thing. Like for example, local politics matter. As our friend Dakhal has said that any disaster brings fortune to the local politician because resource comes in. So you have to really look into those, political culture, role of the political parties, power structure. For example, in Bangladesh, and so the case with India, local elected leaders having enormous potential, they will not go for taxation. Because they know that if they really bring in their taxation structure and manipulate it and go for a tax drive, they lose their election. So that is a popular way. But in spite of the fact, though there is a lot of potential there, so that has not been captured. So another point that Dr. Teknath Dakhal has referred, also very interesting, and you most probably aware of that, which we have been trying for long, even in Nepal, I understand. Perhaps Nepal is the leading country for that matter. Creating local incentive for generating resources. You haven't brought that in. Had you brought in local politics, culture, power structure, and incentive system, that would have really captured the governance aspect. local governance dimension, which you are really passionately have put forward. So these are things I'm concerned and interested about, but I did find that this is not really there. And of course, he has also mentioned that your dependent variable is resource mobilization. But you have brought in all those conventional things. Potential resource base. This is a daylight truth. So this is nothing very exciting. And then you have brought in institutional capacity. And then people's participation. That is the governance part. But the rest of those are very conventional. I would just suggest that if you really want to keep that local governance as your brand cap, you may think about it further. And then, of course, I'm not quite convinced about your methodology because, well, the description that I have, it doesn't have the detail. But nevertheless, I think it needs fine-tuning. And again, I believe that the two case studies that you have drawn should be carefully chosen, based on certain clear criteria that is not really there. And honestly, I think you have to revisit your conceptual or theoretical framework. Just don't pick up what sounds exciting. Pick up something that you'll be using, and that has to be truly, genuinely, and honestly reflected in your framework. Thank you.
Just a supplementary point regarding this people participation, and as what Saladin was rightly mentioning, that's the only part of governance in your framework, because you're talking about dissemination policy, institutional capacity, local resource, and those are basically local government issue, not government. But in people participation, when I was seeing your data collection, sampling things, you said about NGOs. You said that you will be taking 20 NGOs? How many?
8.
Or 8 NGOs. So
8 for each district. Means in total 60.
And why are you taking NGOs?
NGOs representatives. DTC level NGOs are there.
So you are assuming that the NGOs are basically representing the people, and that's why you are not directly taking any data from the citizens. Or,
No.
And then again, it's a little bit confusing, and because NGOs' role in people's participation, ensuring people's participation in local government activities in many parts of the South Asia is more cosmetic than real. Many critics will be arguing like that they have many of these cosmetic activities just to show that, okay, there are some, so it's not the real participation. So how can you be, when you're taking the interview with the NGOs, they'll be saying that they ensure lots of meetings and participatory budgeting, all these big jargons will be coming, but actually what happening in the field, if you do not interview the common citizens and even the taxpayers or even the private sector organizations who are one of the source of the local resource mobilization, if you do not target them and make into your interview target, then it will be difficult. So that's one solution that you see from that point of view. And the last comment is that to my point of view, I am not quite sure how it is different from the other this local resource mobilization kind of the studies. I'm sure in case of Nepal there are other studies, and how it is, what's new you are coming out with this study. I'm sure these things have been said in the previous studies that this fiscal policy is important and local resource base is important, capacity. So why which point of view this is a new thing? What new knowledge you will be getting out after your thesis will be finished? So that you need to tell it very explicitly. That otherwise, many critics will be arguing that probably it will be coming as a repetition or something like that.
Yeah. Yes, in this regard, I think policy, what Fox, Ball, and other scholars have been, just like you, been explained. But why the policy is not properly functioning in Nepal, and what are the LSG 1999 effects in increasing the local government revenue? In these perspectives, I am.
So then you need to put more emphasis on policy, that how the policy is affecting local resource mobilization.
Yeah,
rather
policy, yes, policy and law. LSG 99
Yes, understand.
have
That's part. Law is
simultaneously
part of the
explained.
policy. Yeah. So think about it, that whether it is more, it's better to give more emphasis on policy, that how policy is affecting the local resource mobilization, rather than seeing that, well, it is well researched and it has been proven that institutional capacity is needed, local resource base is needed. Why do you need to do another research to understand whether the local resource base is important for resource mobilization or not?
I think what I know is resource base haphazardly determined mentioned in the law, not any scientific explanation and analysis to identify how much tax should be levied for what things is not any study now in Nepal.
So that's again the law and policy. So give more emphasis on that area rather than the these other factors what you are trying.
No, can I just, for my own clarity, it's not a question, it's just for clarity. Now, what does this local government finance commission, they do?
Just they identify the different variables and measures the variables, how the variables are functioning at local government level.
I mean,
And
when they touch upon the resource gap envelope for the local government as such, they
source, not
don't they do
resource
research
envelope in.
or it's just a straight envelope?
Just-
Or they do some research, because technically, it's for my own clarity, not
Yeah,
a question
yeah.
to you. Normally, a local government intergovernment fiscal policy is supposed to be transferred.
Yes, there is
Then-
intergovernmental fiscal policy, for example.
And that policy is based on any research or just to count the number and distribute it? Usually, the standard fiscal commission is supposed to do research, and you have a permanent commission, I understand. But in India, what they have actually, every 5 years they form a commission, and the commission do extensive research. They develop a formula the next 5 years. Central government will transfer resources on this criteria and basis. And then commission is dissolved. Now after 5 years again a new commission comes in. They do it for next 5 years. Now you have a commission here. It's a permanent commission.
Yeah.
Now I would assume that they're really doing this exercise every year.
They produce generally every year quantitative data, how much revenue collected from the local government with DDC, municipality and BDC,
That is
and then produce the result. This is the
No, but the rule
status.
is also to transfer the money from central government to local.
It is our practice. yes.
But they don't do that. They don't do an exercise on how the money.
No, that's why I'm trying to explore this issue. Why and how the tax rate is determined. Why the another tax base has not been mentioned in the law.
No.
I think I'm
Yeah, I shall try to say that about the local fiscal commission. That local fiscal commissions constitute the different freelancer consultant, and then they conduct the minimum condition for the performance evaluation, MCPM this is called, and they prepare the 43 in case of municipality and the 62 indicators in case of the district development committees, and they evaluate their performance process, performance and the other things they evaluate in this area. And then this is annually, in every year they evaluate the
Just quantitative data.
No. Let's just talk. This is, but there is weakness that we know. But they collect the qualitative and the quantitative data. Let's not mislead it.
I mean, just the clarity, and then they determine what will be.
Yeah. I'm coming here. And on the basis of the numbers they gain during the evaluation, and the basis of the top rank, they added the 25% of the grants, additional grants, and the 50 around that formula I forget, but the 50 around they get the same, and the lowest they cut down the grants. This is the provision. Cut-off level there is, and then if we need, we have. This is. And another point in the same, that in the people's participation, you are seeking the participation. We assume the election is the one of the people's indicators of the people's participation. In case of Nepal, since 2002, there is no any kind of local election in the Nepal, and the policy guideline developed or produced by the Ministry of Local Development, there should not be the political mechanism in the DDC council or BDC council or in the municipality council. And what is the role? How do you evaluate the role of the political parties in the decision making, or in the other sense in the people's participation? That you must be very careful about it. In case of Nepal's DDC council, there is single man DDC council. This is very interesting. This is very, very interesting. Single man.
No,
Technically, and then, but their influence.
Practically single, but officially DDC.
No. Technically, there is a one-man commission.
Yeah.
But
Council.
practically, they try to
Accommodate.
include the politician, representative,
Oh, yeah.
NGO people, and
Both were.
other functionaries.
Yeah, this is, and then if you have to be careful about their involvement also. How do you ensure their involvement? That's a very tricky. Also, their role also you have to evaluate. If there is no legally there is no their representation, but their influence is much more high. You see, this is observed, and then be careful about this. Thank you very much. This
Is
is
it
just
likely that there will be elections soon?
very
Election?
election. The
It is very hard to predict it. Very hard.
Because the whole concept of governance therefore redundant.
I mean, just
You
like
have
we
for
did it.
last 12 years a political system, and then there is no likely chances it is coming soon. Because the moment you bring in governance, it is the process, it is the politics, it's the social dynamics, all these things comes in, and especially the interplay of the power stakeholders. Now, as it appears, there is only one kind of thing in the central bureaucracy and handpicked kind of social participation. Then the whole gamut, essence, and the flavor of local governance will not be coming in there.
Yes, sir. At present, this is very crucial issues really, because LDO have elected representative role and administrative head also. Sometimes he says, this is my power. Sometimes political party influence in these issues, and they come back. These are the issues.
But you see, in our planning system,
Yeah.
from the 92, that is 8th plan onward, regarding the local this development and the role of regarding the role of this DDC municipality, especially for the resource mobilization and the development, there is a policy that bring NGOs and other actors also to contribute in the planning process, also and to involve them in the implementation. So they are expecting the more resource mobilization from those entities.
Sir.
Now, basically, the questions that have been raised over here about the quality of governance in local government. And previously we have a very one mechanism. That mechanism is a political party committee which support the district administrator officer and something like that. But since last 2 years, it has been dropped.
That is a mechanism.
That was the mechanism.
Political mechanism.
That was dropped, and now it's one. So, what happened here? Instead of that one, then some sort of informal mechanism have been developed, just like a CAC, Citizen Awareness Center, Ward Citizen Forums, WCF and CAC. This Citizen Awareness Center and this Ward Awareness Forum, they have been involving in developing the different development program for the BDC as well as DDCs. Yeah, that is the but this is an informal process by which it is expected that the people's role in DDC governance will remain intact. That was the. But here the question is that it is rightly raised by many of you that now there is some sort of vacuum that just like we don't have a very particular process of this local governance right now. But I mean, just like here, basically for the sake of this revenue mobilization, instead of the local, now till now it is being determined by the central level. That's the question. Now, how many, what they can do for the tax and non-tax one. It is basically decided, not being decided by the local, but by the central. But one thing is that in our DDC and municipalities and VDCs, we have some sort of council meeting per year. This council meeting means just like it is being represented by many from the political parties, from these civil society organizations, and from different ones. That DDC council decides most of the things. And now previously there is a DDC council, and there is a DDC committee, and there is then the executive one. Now there is a vacuum of, there is a DDC council and there is a administrator. That is the case. One thing is missing right now, that is committee. We have council, but we don't have a committee. So there is some sort of, I mean, you are quite right that we have to raise about the political economy, because most of these this sort of tax and non-tax activities being directed by these political, I mean, just like intricacies and other things, which are still now remaining, and we have to consider it seriously how we can manage that. You should be very careful that. Thank you. Yes.
Hello. Yes, I was a bit. I'm not sure whether I understand how you want to measure the status of local resource mobilization.
No, wait. Yeah.
Can you explain that? How you want to measure local resource mobilization?
Measuring the local resource mobilization, mainly there are two, internal and external resources.
Volume of the resources.
Volume of the resources.
Percentage. Think about percentage. Is percentage?
Percentage, yeah.
So what is the
In
percentage?
quantitative form.
Percentage of what?
Total resource increase size of the resources in different fiscal years.
So percentage of local resource among the total resource. That's the way.
Self-dependency.
Yeah.
The rate of self-dependency.
What is the percentage of local
Analyze the
resource?
level of autonomy.
So actually there will be one dependent variable called status of local resource mobilization,
Yeah.
and for one of your cases you will have one value, and for another case you will have another value. Is that so? So you have actually two cases, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 independent variables.
Yeah.
That creates a problem in terms of deciding which of these variables are affecting
More,
the
yeah.
dependent
How much?
variable and not. So I think you are into some difficulties there if you want to follow sort of a straight quasi-experimental design. I was thinking about, you have also this survey you want to do. So maybe another alternative would be to try to, through a kind of survey, measure the willingness of local people to pay taxes to the local government. So you will get a dependent variable on that basis, and that will be on the individual level of each of your respondents. And then at the same time you could ask questions to these respondents. how do they perceive the local government? Do they perceive the local government positively in terms of institutional capacity, in terms of people participation, things like that? So you can actually do some correlation studies of how people perceive the local government and their willingness to pay taxes to local government.
Actually, at local level,
Can I?
oh yeah,